Hopefully we don't get no glitches. Usually they happen at the beginning of the show. All right. Let me just make a little announcement. Oh, shut up. Seriously. The puppies have now decided this is the time. Start with their bullshit. All right, where are we? Where are we? Okay, we're on Zoom. I think we're broadcasting. We broadcasting? We live on
Yeah.
YouTube? Okay, we're live on YouTube. All right, wicked. So let me quickly just send out a post on Facebook just to let people know we're here. Because obviously this wasn't a planned show. We just quickly just decided last minute to do this because given the current situation, time is of the essence. Get me? So, but we've been meaning to do this anyway. We've been meaning to get you back on the show. You've been a few places since we last spoke. Get me? You've been to Glasgow. We might want to have to hear about that as well. So
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, cool, man. I've got a puppy, 2 puppies climbing up next to me, so I might have to stop them. Or you two, stop it. All right, calm down. You come here. All right. Welcome back. We've got Ben Freesoul back on the Bad Slave podcast. So what's been going on?
Since we last spoke, I spent about 3 weeks in Glastonbury and then was very pleased to get back to the peaceful land of Llandilo in Wales.
Cool.
There's a lot of madness in that place. The mystical Avalon, as some people call it, but there's also a shadow and there's a lot of light there, but opposite, a lot of darkness. There's a lot of destitution and addiction and, certain energies running around in the darkness and puppeteering things and drugs and shit. Yeah, it's not, but yeah, it's a lovely place. We've got spring fresh, spring water there, healing water. Yeah. As I say, a pantomime. I actually spent longer there than I intended to. And it does happen like that. Sometimes I've found it very difficult to escape Glastonbury. And other times I've been spat out there energetically quicker than I anticipated.
It sounds like Brighton.
Yeah.
Oh shit. Yeah. Yeah, because me personally, I've never really spent much time in Glastonbury. I've only ever really remember walking through the high street or the town centre one time, and that was because I was at a festival not far from Glastonbury town centre, like in the countryside. But we had to go into this get some supplies one of the days. I have been around Glastonbury, like in the outskirts and stuff. Like I know people that live on sites and stuff there, but I have not really spent much time in the actual town of Glastonbury. So there's not much I know about it, apart from a lot of people have been pulling up in trailers and living on the side of the road. And it's been getting a lot of, because obviously the kind of people that live in like that part of Somerset is quite like an affluent. You know what I mean? It's quite an affluent area, and a lot of the neighbours and a lot of the locals have been complaining about all the caravans and all the rubbish and all the see what I'm saying, that comes with it.
Well, it's like people are drawn to live there, but a lot of the people that are drawn there aren't necessarily on board with this, like living in a house, renting, paying council tax and all that shit. So they're sort of at a loss. But to me, Glastonbury just seems to be a pilgrimage site, unless But when I lived there, I think the longest I've lived there is like 4 months or something, and I was living in a caravan on a lane.
Yeah.
But most of the people that I was connecting with weren't born in Glastonbury. They come from all over England. So it's like, because it's such a welcoming pilgrimage space, people can choose to live there, but they also want to embrace the freedom of just passing through. And like, I've lived in a tent, in a caravan. I was staying in this little like concrete shack right next to an Aldi, like on some abandoned land, and it's hidden in plain sight. But
Yeah.
people have been like jabbing up in there and that, and there's rats.
Mm.
Because otherwise, the alternative is like paying bare money for Airbnb or like hotels and that. And it's like, I've got a lot of friends in that particular area because I've literally just spent about 2 years, maybe altogether over the years there.
Mm.
But because I don't really have a place to stay there. Like, there isn't really any of my friends that have got room for me to be staying there if I want to go for a couple of weeks or something. So I just tend to just put a tent up somewhere or I've like
Yeah.
stayed in the orchard and things like that. But this time I kind of got caught out and I had a lift arranged back with this random man who bumped into me. And I don't think it's a coincidence, but he was from Birmingham, from 10 miles away from where I was born. But he used to be a heroin
Okay.
dealer and he was telling me about the lives that he'd ended in this life and that. And luckily, he just drifted off and he didn't wait around for me.
Yeah.
But yes. And so because I was there, like, I can't stand bullies, and there's a lot of bullies who operate in the shadows around there. And so
Okay.
I ruffled many feathers. I got people's backs up. They tried to intimidate me and in front of loads of people and all of that. And I know the levels that these people were stooped to because I've heard some of the stories that I know for a fact are true about people who don't regard human lives whatsoever. And these kind
Yeah.
of people are the ones shotting crack and heroin and all of that stuff and like getting people hooked and that.
And so they're basically they would be what you call the county lines that are coming
Yeah,
into
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Glastonbury, and are coming there because they know it's an area with even though it's a small area,
Yeah,
it's an area which now has become, you know, a significant amount of drug users live there. It's
yeah,
almost known for
yeah.
heroin use. So basically, so you've got like the what you'd call gang members basically and moved into Glastonbury. And how are the locals finding that?
Well, for the most, I don't know. I don't know whether it's probably 50-50 split, and most people, maybe 50% is oblivious, 50% know the score, and they just sort of like. I guess the locals ultimately don't want any of that in there because, like you say, they're pretty well to do, like
Mm,
middle class kind of people.
yeah.
Um, but it's what I have noticed is that there are quite a few people who have had enough of it, and they will be the people who are sort of temporarily staying there, or maybe they've decided they're going to live there for the rest of their life. But the
Yeah,
energy's
yeah, yeah,
building up where people are saying enough's enough now,
yeah,
and
yeah,
understanding that they've got each other's back to a degree.
yeah,
So I know, like, all it takes is we don't want to be investing in those energy dynamics. I'd probably love it too much to get the opportunity to change someone's head off in this life and be fully
mm,
justified in doing it. But I'd rather
mm,
not. Do you
mm.
know what I mean? Because I don't want to play those. It's like
Yeah,
prison
yeah, yeah,
rules that are like everybody's forcing everybody to get on board with it and all that. And
yeah,
I'm just
yeah,
a peaceful man, but I know that justice always prevails, and like these, I know that they're going to prison because of the things that
yeah,
they keep doing.
yeah. I lived not far from Glastonbury in Somerset, so I lived about 30 miles away from Glastonbury, not too far anyway. Yeah, and it weren't like Glastonbury where I lived. It was a much more quieter sort of town there. But what I found is you had the dealers from London, perhaps, yeah, selling the crack, yeah. But a lot of the people didn't, the locals didn't really mind it because a lot of them was actually using the crack.
Yeah,
Do you know what I mean?
yeah, yeah,
And it was like, if anything, they would be selling the dealers the weed, like would get some nice
yeah,
weed from around the area, yeah. But it wasn't really a thing where it was looked at like, oh, these people are dealing crack. However, like you said, there was an incident where where some locals turned up and baseball bats were swinging and car windows were getting put through and it all went mad. And then, like you said, the police just swooped in, just grabbed everyone, and that was the end of it. Do you know what I mean? The house got boarded up, and that was it. So I kind of, do you see what I'm saying? I can get what you're saying because
yeah,
a lot of people will just turn the blind eye to it, and a lot of people are oblivious to it. The only reason I knew what was going on It's
Yeah.
because a couple of them were from London.
Uh-huh.
And no, and don't get me wrong, they never told me what they were doing, but I was able to kind of like put two and two together. Do you know
Yeah.
what I mean? And there was a couple of them from Birmingham as well. There was, you see what I'm
Uh-huh.
saying? They was all linked up though. I
Yeah.
can put two and two together. But like I said, they themselves were no problem. I had no issues with them. I didn't even see what they were doing. Do you get what I mean? I didn't even see like I hardly saw any addicts and this and that, but it was apparent that it was definitely
Yeah.
drugs were being sold in that area to the
Yeah.
point where money was being made, but you just didn't really see it.
Uh-huh.
Somewhere like Glasgow, it might be more on the surface, but even there's a small place as well. So
Yeah, I guess like the addicts are basically scattered about the lanes and that,
yeah, of course.
where they're living on the outskirts of town. But it is like there's something bubbling under, like it is starting to seep out, and like there's a church in the middle of the high street. It's a big church called
Yeah,
St. John's, and people just sit there all day, and like people have started smoking crack in the porch bit and stuff like that. Like, and so there's a bit of a reaction to that. But the church has just put a sign up saying, please
wait,
don't use substances.
wait, stop it, stop it, stop it, stop it. Wait, Coco, come here. Sorry, Coco, come here now. Coco, come here. Come here. Sorry, my dog is being terrible. Get up here. Sit up here. Sit up here. Fucking idiot. Stay there. Right. Yeah. Well, I don't know. It's like the fact that there's so many drugs in Glastonbury. Is it due to the kind of people? Are people coming there already as addicts, or is it something that is happy? They're getting on when they arrive. Is it something they're introduced to?
I think it's like this. If you go there with no plan
Yeah.
and you're not self-aware enough, then you just get swept up into dynamics. Whether you, because intentionally, you probably should be intending to be going there to heal, right? And that's why people are drawn there. But at the same time, if you're feeling lonely, like
Yeah.
we've discussed this before, but I've found I drank so much, well, a lot more than I would choose to drink while I was there. But
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
it's because the healing nature of sitting in a circle of humans and discussing, our life experiences and all that stuff and showing love. But if you're constantly trying to do that, that's just martyrdom. It's pure martyrdom, and that ends in crucifixion. Essentially, you're gonna
Yeah.
be dead.
Yeah. 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 Jeez. Because the thing is, I know people that live in Glastonbury. I'm not going to name anybody, you know what I mean, but they know who they are. And they're not like you said, they're not from Glastonbury, but these are people that from wherever they're from, they've gravitated towards Glastonbury. Some of them float between Glastonbury and Bristol, but generally that's and a lot of them, like you said, it is like a pilgrimage place, yeah, where people go to heal, whatever, yeah. But hold on a minute. All right, Coco, stop fucking around. Sorry. But at the same time, I see people ending up as like hardcore addicts. And do you know what I mean? Like some of the people I know in Glastonbury, you know what I mean? They'll wake up in the morning and they'll the way we'll have a cup of tea or a cup of coffee, they'll
Yeah,
be pouring themselves a glass of cider.
yeah.
You know what I mean? And
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
you see what I'm saying? And it's just I'm not saying that everyone in Glastonbury is like that, because obviously I think it's more to do with it's more to do with like the kind of maybe like the squatter community of Glastonbury rather than just the average person in Glastonbury. Because I don't know, like I said, I've only been up there a few times. I've not really been amongst where people live in Glastonbury. So for me, it's interesting to see what do people do in Glastonbury? Like what do people do for work and stuff like that?
I mean, my friends, like basically, I don't typically when I say my friends, the people that I know, like I go to Glastonbury because I know such a lot of people there and they all know me.
Yeah.
But I don't know many people that are settled to that degree that have got a job.
Okay.
I know maybe one person, and he works in a school, like, and he's just buzzing off like loving that. He's an artist, but that's just what he's doing with his time as well. And I think a lot of the people that I know are just surviving day to day, and like you say, yeah, it is a pattern of being chemically assisted to
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
degree. And one thing I've noticed, really, it doesn't matter what the substance is, the medicine that people are taking, if it's genuinely helping them. And I
Yeah,
chose
yeah,
to
yeah.
stop judging anything like that anymore,
Of
because
course,
I
of
think
course.
actually the most dangerous addiction is judgment of other people, because it shows that you're not focusing on your own life. So,
Yeah, yeah,
whatever we need to do to get by. But there's a lot of people who take gabapentins and stuff, and maybe it's all just part of these pain cycles. And it might have been that they had a fight, or they got run over by a car because they were trashed or anything like that, and started taking pain medication. And
of
then they
course.
just thought, wow, fuck, I can't actually cope with this pain that's outside of this bit. So it's like that. But the flip side of that is there are people who are basically in control of their demons, I would say. A lot of them are probably elders, to be fair,
Yeah,
But
yeah.
there's a bit of a music scene around there, a little bit. There's these things threatening to sort of spring up, like when I was living there last year, there was a community initiative, just football, right? Just having a kickabout, and the potential for it to evolve into something consistent was there, but alcohol got in the way. But it
Mm.
couldn't be exclusive. You had to say, please, by all means, come and have a kickabout instead of fucking about on the high street and terrorizing people for 90
Yeah,
minutes.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
But
yeah.
then people who weren't drinkers got frustrated, and they're like, well, I don't want to, I'd rather not play football than play with these fuckers. Like, it's like
That
that.
all this is what I found. Like me, I came I came into Somerset from London area, yeah. So I came down. Now, I had already known people from prior to that in Bristol and that. So I already knew people from years before from going up there and staying up there sometimes. So when I've gone there and we've started doing stuff, like we moved onto a farm and that, and we started, you know what I mean, things started moving. But
Yeah.
after drugs,
Uh-huh.
everyone was, and it wasn't just like, and like, you know, I'm not like, it's not like I'm anti, I've lived my life anti drugs.
Yeah.
Like prior to that, I didn't really care. I
Uh-huh.
was just one of those people just didn't really care.
Yeah.
Someone was sniffing a lie next to me. I was just like, cool, do your thing.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
wasn't
Yeah.
something that had interfered with my life that much. But when I
Uh-huh.
found it was like when you're with this sort of crowds, it's constant
Yeah.
drinking, it's constant hangovers, it's constant
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
every single day waking up late because they got them smashed the night before. So it's
Yeah.
constant drag. Um, and it's just one of them things where after a while you just think, fuck it, I can't deal with that. So any
Yeah.
normal
Because it's not
person
fair,
would,
is it?
yeah,
It's not reciprocity, and because it's like I'm pro-choice and I'm not anti-drugs, yeah, but I'm anti the consequences of other people's drugs. And if I'm not on the same wavelength with somebody and I'm having to deal with their bullshit and babysit them as well, then that's not ideal, right? And it's why I haven't been able to live in Glastonbury,
yeah, yeah,
because I sympathise and resonate to a degree with those people, but that's not a fair community of humans, right?
yeah, because you're not giving yourself a fair chance. So
Hmm.
because it's not an as much as people, there's no real definition of normal. It's not a normal society in the sense where you can't get no, you don't expect your postman to be on ketamine and fucking deliver your mail to the wrong house, or your
Uh-huh.
milkman to drop all the milk and smash it all in your dry, things like this that can't,
Yeah.
things that if you go to a Middle Eastern country you won't really see, like, you know what I mean, like things like, countries where there's no alcohol, there's none of that happening, you see how things function. When
Yeah,
you
yeah,
throw out, I think, and that's what I think with Glastonbury. I think when you throw with Glastonbury, because it's like it's like a place for like the spiritual. It's like the epicenter of like neo-paganism, right? So it's looked at as a spiritual site almost, yeah.
yeah.
But because there is no, like, if it was Islam, for instance, or even if it was like Judaism or Christianity or
Mhm.
even Hinduism,
Yeah,
they might even let you have some alcohol, but
yeah,
they might say, "Oh, this is the measure of alcohol you're getting," and
yeah,
then that's it. And they might stress the, moderation and this, that, and whereas with
yeah.
Glastonbury, it's kind of like do as thou wilt. Almost, it is kind of like, look,
Yeah.
you're acknowledged. Oh, you lot, shut the fuck up. Oi, be quiet. Fucking hell. Oi,
We're talking about
I'm
it
gonna have to
here.
throw something. I'm gonna actually have to throw something at them. Do you know what I mean? Look at, they're actually fighting each other. They're actually three puppies having a fight. Literally, they're fucking idiots. And yeah, so almost lost my train of thought because of these knobs. So yeah, so it's almost like you know, you can kind of do as you want. And I think that is very appealing. So if you've grown up in a church, right, you're told you can't do this, you can't do that, you can't do that. No, no, no.
Yeah.
Oh fucking hell! You see all your friends doing it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If you got a religion or a belief, yeah, which lets you acknowledge all everything and acknowledge that I don't know what you'd say that other dimensions or the different, you know what I mean, different
Yeah.
sides of existence, but at the same time, it's not got no rigid rules that are saying, no, you can't do this, you can't do that.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
appealing because it lets
Yeah.
you be spiritual and it lets you go out and fucking get on the sesh.
Uh-huh.
And I think that's kind of what is attracted to
But
Glastonbury.
yeah, yeah, yeah. But it's because a lot of people like selfishly embrace their own freedom and exercise their right to that without considering the collective freedoms. You know,
Well,
yeah, we have the right to just be obnoxious and like cause other people detriment, but it doesn't mean that we should, you know, just go around. And this is what a lot of these substances do, right? They put people into this bubble where they can't actually consider other people around them.
yeah, yeah,
Like
that's true.
alcohol, it's really not fair. Like, for obvious reasons, you wouldn't, if you were sober, teetotal, you wouldn't marry an alcoholic because you'd never know what you're going to get, and there's no consistency in how they're showing up.
True. It's true. You do get cases of it though, but you're right. There is no consistency. It's literally just unpredictable. It is literally a lifetime of unpredictable behavior.
Yeah. So, you know, things are changing there, but in a fashion, nothing ever changes, but the characters change. It's like a bit like that. You just get
Mm-mm-mm.
new, fresh energy in the area. But like that, St. John's Church, they're doing okay. Like I wanted to live there because of my experience of how they treat the people that have got nothing and the people that are closest to the bottom, living on the streets, all the addicts and that. You know, the churches are nice enough. The outreach teams for homelessness, they just leave you alone if you don't want to, you know, all of
Yeah,
that stuff. It's not, it's calm like that. But like the St. John's Church, there's actually peregrine falcons nesting on the roof of that church. And
yeah,
I
yeah,
think
yeah,
that's
yeah.
kind of significant. I don't
Yeah.
know necessarily know exactly what it means, but
Well, what we do know about Glastonbury is that it's somewhere which is built along ley lines.
yeah,
You see what I'm saying? So
yeah,
we know that Glastonbury and there's actually about the, you know, the Glastonbury Triangle.
uh-huh,
It's very hard to find information on this. You won't find much information online for some reason, but there's
uh-huh,
certain books where I've seen it in. So there's a triangle. It goes from Glastonbury up to Banbury in the
okay.
Midlands, or the, you know, up them ways there. Then,
Oxfordshire, is it? Yeah.
yeah, North Oxfordshire, and then it goes all the way down to somewhere I can't remember the place because it was a long time ago. I see this book where it goes somewhere
Yeah.
near Berkshire, somewhere in Berkshire near Reading, yeah.
Okay.
And then if you if you go, so if you that will make a complete triangle, yeah, from these 3 points. But then if you go from Banbury and you go directly down, straight line,
Okay.
not all the way to the bottom of the line though, above, maybe about, I don't know, 20, 30 miles above the line that Glastonbury and Stonehenge sits on or whatever.
Uh-huh.
And you have, no, sorry, Glastonbury and the other place sits on, and you have Stonehenge. So it does line up. So we know all of these places, they do line, they have got significance. So people don't just come to these places because, do you know what I mean? Somewhere
Yeah,
along the
no,
line.
and so like for example, I tend to gravitate to these places around the solstices and the equinoxes. Just
Yeah.
somehow I don't plan it, but that happens. And like there'll be people that just stay up for like 48 hours and that, and they'll go to the tour and play music and that. So you can witness the energy of the tour, right? You know what Glastonbury
Mm.
tour is, right?
Yeah, yeah,
The,
yeah.
yeah,
I've never been
obviously.
up there myself, but I do know
Okay.
it. Yeah.
But yeah, like some madness and like some woman told me I was speaking to this American woman this once, and she said that she'd programmed the little chapel, the stone structure on top of the tour, to self-destruct and explode. And like, I was like, what? And me and my friend just felt called to go up there and perform some little ceremony where we were just chanting love and peace, right? Because even though it was pretty west, I genuinely believe that she thought that that's what was going to happen, and so the energy would have done something to the energy up there, and we found ourselves just doing that.
Do you think the Glastonbury, yeah, realistically, it's attracting a lot of types of people who would be like basically people who would be practicing in the occult. So you
Yeah,
got to think it's the same like Brighton and Lewis and these sort of
yeah,
places, but Glastonbury. So you got to think it's a place where you've got lots of different people turning up,
uh-huh,
doing their thing, doing their little bit. Like
yeah,
some people more sinister than others. You know what I mean? You might have some
uh-huh,
people whose intentions is like you've said, it's just like love and peace. You know what I mean? And then also you have,
yeah,
but even still, you have that constant. I always look at it like opening the portal. So I
yeah,
always look at it like when you're dealing with this sort of thing, you're kind of like opening the portal to another dimension.
yeah,
And obviously, me personally, I don't think you have much control over what goes in and out. Yeah, but I think ultimately you have the power to open a portal. You
yeah,
have, and I think that's what humans get caught up with because humans get so caught up in the fact that they don't even think should I or shouldn't I. They just think, well,
uh-huh,
this is possible because so many
yeah,
people believe it's not possible. Once they
uh-huh,
realize, oh no, I can manipulate certain things,
yeah,
and then
yeah,
somewhere like Glastonbury, as
yeah,
on top of that, you've got you got people that are doing this whilst they're twisted on alcohol and drugs.
yeah, yeah, because those communing with those substances opens a very specific portal in every instance.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
what you've got to think is anybody who thinks like that and chooses to manipulate reality in such a manner is being manipulated by something like a puppet, you know?
yeah. No, I agree. I agree. I agree.
So yeah, with the higher awareness, that's like quite a lot of responsibility. So this is why I know that I will never live in Glastonbury because after the last time, I was so grateful to get back into the peace of where I am. Like it's not a joke, man. Because even the fact that I would consider living there is dangerous to me. Like it's like
It's mad because I don't know much about Glastonbury, so I can only go by what I know of Glastonbury. And it sounds
yeah,
like an interesting place. You know what I mean? It does sound like an interesting place, but
it is interesting, but it's just like some days it's like, oh, but still, come on, like please, can we just it's like there's three types of people who will be in Glastonbury. There'll be the people who were born there, you know, and the people who have family in there, the pilgrims, and then you've got the people who are sort of in between and they're from other places, but they're floating around in the area, or like I say, you know, sort of settled, maybe in caravans. But the people who just pass through and they're just, oh, never been before, or enjoying the shops, like it's a pantomime, it's an
of
actual
course it is.
pantomime. And a
Of
lot
course.
of people don't see the underbelly because they're so lost in all of the sensory experience of being there.
It seems like I know it's a bit like Brighton's, but it seems like a smaller version of Brighton because Brighton
Yeah,
is sort of like that in a way where at one point everyone thought Brighton was all nice and we didn't realize it was a lot of the underworld of Brighton. Do you know
uh-huh.
what I mean? And you know what I mean? And now it's just like common knowledge, you know what I mean? But it sounds a bit like Glastonbury is one of them
Yeah.
places, man. And it's like,
Yeah, yeah. Well, I actually in the caravan that I was staying in last year on one of the lanes. It didn't have electric or anything, and I actually enjoyed that candlelight and all that stuff.
yeah, yeah,
It's so
yeah.
nice to just strip it back. But anyway, I got given that caravan by a man who actually came from Brighton, and when he was in
Okay.
Brighton, he was on like he was on crack and heroin and all that, and he came to Glastonbury and he was able to stop using.
Yeah.
But then he just got banned on the ketamine, and that wasn't helping him. It got
Mm,
past the point of helping him because actually, I don't know if you've ever had any experience, I presume not, of taking that substance, but
ketamine.
I'm actually an advocate for it, but only under the correct conditions, right?
Oh,
I understand what it does, and I understand the pitfalls.
I have. I'll be honest with you. Yeah, I have taken ketamine,
Uh-huh,
right, once in my life, right,
uh-huh,
and that was it.
uh-huh.
After taking it,
Yeah.
I never wanted to do it again.
Yeah, I don't, I,
It,
I hear you, bro.
I didn't like necessarily like not. It wasn't like a bad experience.
Uh-huh,
It was. I just. I took quite a bit of it,
uh-huh,
and I was just like, you know, it just made me think, you know, like I definitely wasn't sociable.
Yeah.
I wasn't. I was just. I went. I think the only good thing about it that I think I slept well.
Yeah.
I definitely slept well.
Oh yeah, so this is my point, right? So if somebody's taking it alone in a safe environment, just at home chilling, that's one thing. But then you've got people walking around, taking it out in the open, and then just like mixing with people who aren't on it and that. And it's such a strange experience to be communicating with somebody who's on that substance when you're not at all. And like you can tell that what they think they're saying and what they're actually saying are two different things. And so there's something lost in translation.
But all right then. So what? So the fact that ketamine is so popular
Yeah,
in Glastonbury,
yeah,
right? Now, if these people are spiritual, you know, it's a spiritual community, so they
yeah,
understand like alcohol, and they understand like alcohol being a
yeah,
conduit for, you know, like a something that can, you know, make spirits, you know, it's like
yeah,
a
yeah, yeah.
conductor for spirits, yeah. So what do they think ketamine is? What do they think ketamine? What, like if alcohol's conducting certain spirits, yeah, in you, what is ketamine doing to the? Do you know what I mean? What is people's understanding of that?
Well, I would say that a lot of like I'm struggling to think of a person who would class herself as spiritual that I know in that area that also takes that substance,
Okay.
you know? But at the end of the day, it's an anesthetic, and it's like some things in this life have been so painful for humans that at times they probably wish that they were not here instead, right? So if that's like some sort of damage limitation to that degree and it slows them down just for a few hours or whatever, it's like I totally get that. And I discovered ketamine through clubbing and
Yeah.
being a weekend offender, proper
Yeah.
wreckhead trying to escape reality. But it just happened that I couldn't. It turned around and I discovered the medicine. So I would never try and abuse it because I realized there's no point. I couldn't go out that way.
Yeah. I definitely with ketamine. I definitely felt like I wasn't there though.
Uh-huh.
I definitely felt like I wasn't there. You know what I mean? It was almost like I was like,
Well,
yeah, it was like I wasn't there. I was just,
the Dalai Lama, right, one year, he was at an event in Glastonbury, right, and he was speaking to the people, and he literally said, can everybody start taking ketamine? Because in the astral realm, there's all these like soul bodies just littering up the place because like I mean, I don't know about that so much, but I can get it because it is a disassociative. So as a point of
is
awareness,
he so has the Dalai Lama been traveling to the astral plane then? Has he been remote? Yeah, like
and I don't know. It's like who is
astral
that man
traveling.
anyway? I've never met him, I don't know,
Yeah,
but it's just a
but
thing that happened.
yeah, yeah. Okay, now, but
Yeah,
even still, the fact that the Dalai Lama has come and told people to stop taking it,
yeah,
it should be a and I, you know what I mean? It should be a wake up call, isn't it? Should
yeah.
definitely be a wake up call.
Yeah, yeah. I've got a friend, right, and that medicine really, really helps her, right? And she, but anyway, it doesn't matter. I see the effect that it has on her relative to the life
Yeah,
that she's lived, the trauma her energy field holds, all of that stuff. Because let's face it, like, how long did it take to be so traumatized? It took years and years and years. So there are
yeah,
no quick fixes in this life, and people just sort of find what works for them. And I, I have an aversion to that substance as much as I can appreciate what it does because of my experiences, but mostly of my experiences of other people. But then that's my judgment and
yeah,
how
yeah,
someone
yeah,
else is affecting my life.
yeah,
And
yeah.
it's like inside, they could be letting go of so much hurt and
Mm.
pain, and feeling safe or whatever. But ultimately, we'd want everybody to be getting into stuff like conscious breath work and Pilates and yoga, or maybe not yoga. You're probably not so much a fan of that. Or, oh, actually, your partner teaches yoga, doesn't she?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, it's stuff like that, and I think it's like certain medicines, they sort of work, but they're also like the shadow of something which is a lot more beneficial with no downside.
I see. Yeah, yeah, of course, of course. So yeah, well, yeah, because even ketamine, there's only one. You have to get it from India, don't you? Pure.
Seems that way,
It
yeah.
pretty much all comes from India apparently, and it's like,
Yeah.
so you got to think it's obviously based on some raw. It's probably based on some raw ingredient. I don't know too much
Yeah.
about ketamine because I've never had
But
much
but what
interest in
is
it.
what it's taught me, it's put me it really humbled me because it it's like ego death. It puts you in a space like, where is it like a purgatory kind of space, and it feels like you're never going to come back, and then eventually it all comes back, and you're so grateful to be present and
Yeah,
correct in real life. But do you remember the Sega Mega Drive game Echo the Dolphin?
of course. Yeah,
Yeah, well, that was based on actually this man called John Lilly, right? And he was experimenting with injecting ketamine, and he was in these flotation tanks, right? And he flooded a house and he filled it with dolphins. And he believed that he was communicating with the dolphins and that they're some sort of outer space link. And that's literally what that game was based on.
no way. That's actually crazy. You know about dolphins, isn't it?
Huh?
You know it's illegal to communicate with dolphins.
Oh, yeah,
Well,
exactly.
yeah, it's
But that
highly
experiment
illegal.
failed because
Yeah.
John Lilly's wife started having a sexual relationship with one of the dolphins. But that's like,
Yeah,
so
yeah,
it
yeah,
could
yeah.
go a bit
Yeah,
mad.
look, that's the maddest thing. If you start communicating, that's the thing here. Like, if you start communicating with whales and dolphins, they'll manipulate you, and they'll
Yeah.
make. And they make, that's why they've banned humans from doing it, because once they start learning, I don't know how they do it, but once they start communicating, the whales will tell the human, "This is your mission." You got. And so if you check out the guy from, is it Greenpeace? So
Uh-huh.
apparently he was dealing with that. He was
Uh-huh.
talking to, and actually part of his thing was the whales told him to stop the way, the whaling votes. Get me?
Yeah,
He had
yeah,
to go and stop that, and that's what he done.
yeah.
You get me? And apparently after that, it was like, you know what, you can't be chatting to whales no more. Such a mad, it's such a mad thing to talk. It's such a mad thing to be speaking about, like actually talking about people talking to whales and dolphins. And anyone would think we're crazy having this conversation, but it's actually just down to their lack of like knowledge of the facts, that these are all like documented articles and stuff like that, and
Yeah,
documented studies. And dolphins are very on that level, like you was talking. They are very they are considered to be higher. Yeah, they are considered to be on a higher level of intelligence than
yeah,
humans, and also they are considered to be more native to the planet and have more understanding of the planet than humans. That's what they say anyway. So
yeah.
you get me. So yeah,
Yeah,
dolphins.
well, I believe that there's a link between the ocean and actual space.
Yeah, yeah, definitely, definitely. Well, look how everything moves in space.
Uh-huh.
You get me?
In the
Everything,
Bible, it talks about the firmament which separates the waters above from the waters below. So, I
exactly.
was thinking
Yeah, it's something. It's definitely something like that. It is some sort of, if you think about it, any kind of deep sea, any kind of deep sea creature looks like it could be from space. You know what I mean? If you took it out of the water, it looks like you could. You know what I mean? It looks like it could be
that.
some sort of alien. So yeah. But yeah, you was talking about your incident,
Oh,
your
yeah.
up and coming case.
Yeah, yeah.
Get that out of the way before. Right now, look what's
Yeah.
happening right now. This dog has decided to start attacking me. All right, he's
Oh,
literally just decided to start bite. See, I just decided. You know what I mean?
I got a little teacup Yorkshire Terrier here who's answering back.
Have you?
Yeah, there's
That's what I
three
need.
dogs in this house where I am
That's what
now.
I need. Yeah,
What'd you say?
nice. That's what I need. Like one small Yorkshire Terrier type dog, or a Jack Russell, or something small.
Yeah, man.
Do you know what I mean? Not something that's going to eat me.
Yes, so basically, next month, like the 17th of July, I'm supposed to appear in court and I've got to go to like Manchester ways. Because last year I was in Derbyshire and I got arrested for indecent exposure. That never happened.
Mm.
Um, I happened to find myself in a park. I put my tent up. I needed to rest. I was severely depleted of energy because I just had to do one from the Isle of Wight because I've been there for 4 months and energetically the place became hostile. So I just had to leave and I ended up. So I went to this gathering of people, um, and I got there late. I got there on the last evening, and so I just managed to spend a few hours with people and then get some sleep. And then the next day, everyone left. I stayed on the land for a couple of days. The family let me, who owned the land, and then they told me I had to leave at some point. So I still was like recovering my energy, but I had quite a lot of stuff with me. My whole life, literally. I came from a flat on the Isle of Wight and I just took as much as I could with me. Anyway, I was walking away and I found a park and it was as far as I could go. So I just put my tent up. I didn't really communicate with anybody that day because I was conserving my energy, but it was right by the skate ramps and that, so not ideal. I see how that would cause a bit of friction in the area because of children and that, and there was children playing on the park. But literally, the only person I spoke to that day was a young lad who was about 11 years old, and he asked me for a Rizzler, and I said
Jeez.
no. But anyway, so I'm just chilling, sitting in the sun. I have some food, and then maybe it's 9:30, 10 o'clock. It's just getting dark. I put my pajamas on and I get into the tent under my blankets and getting settling down. And then I hear a bit of commotion and see a light, and I look out the tent and there's 5 police, and they come up to me, and the female of the group um started speaking to me, and I was like, oh bloody hell. Is it a slow day? Because I thought they were just coming to see who I was, right? I didn't think they needed to send 5 people to do this. And then long story short, she said, well, no, we're here to arrest you on suspicion of indecent exposure. And I was fucking shocked. Like, what? And like, I don't know, man. It didn't happen. I
Yeah.
know that I was careful not to even like urinate in that park or anything like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not right, because, well, I didn't want anybody to come to my tent,
When
causing me.
when they took you in, did they what evidence did they say they had on you? Just to witness it,
So,
just the
so this is
testimony.
what I was told, right?
Yeah.
There was a 15-year-old girl and a 13-year-old girl.
Yeah.
Oh, this is all from their witness statements, right? Because my solicitors sent me that, and I've read it all and that. Basically, these two girls, yeah, they were told by some of their other female friends that there's a man in the park showing his willy, right?
Yeah.
So be careful, yeah. And then they say that they saw me staring at them, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
they said that before I was acting weird, right? And they walked past
Oh.
me. And as they turned back round, they said that I've exposed myself. I don't
Yeah.
even know who these girls are.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
like, for real, for real. And as it happens, yeah, the girls' friends who apparently told them about this man are not giving evidence, right? That
Yeah.
hasn't
Yeah.
been presented. They're not
Yeah. Yeah.
appearing in court. So,
Yeah.
but like I said, I'd been on the Isle of Wight before this, and I really caused problems for the council and stuff like that. And when I was in Birmingham, I uncovered human trafficking in the councils, all of this stuff. It really feels to me like there have been people pulling strings in my life and setting up certain things.
So
And
this, yeah, I see. I see. Yeah. So you think this was a blatant, just a setup, like?
well, why else? Like, are teenagers that vindictive? To literally
All
just,
right. Well, here's an example, right? So when I lived in Somerset, right, there's a guy who used to live in the area that I used to live in, and I used to
Mhm.
sometimes see him on the train, right? Now this guy was a big guy, very loud voice, proper geezer. Fucking hell! Now this guy was always talking about his fucking got this weed. He'd be pulling out tubs of weed on the train, like, yeah, have a fucking. So he would, I mean, he'd be on the phone, yeah, fucking got the. You see what I'm saying? He would be doing his shit out in the open, right? So he's got nicked, right? And what he's told, remember, I can only go by what he's told me. So he said what has happened, and I can imagine he was on the phone talking all this big talk on the phone. Some young kids on the train. So obviously he's talking about all the weed he's got. This kid probably is looking to draw. So the kid's probably gone up to him and said, "Oh, um, can you sort me out? Can you sort me out some weed?" He's probably said, "Nah, I can't. You're a kid or whatever." The kid said to him, "If you don't do that, I'm gonna go and say that you've tried to sell me weed." So he's like, "Cool." So the kid's gone and told the train guard, "This guy's tried to rare. They've done him. He's got done for gang grooming." You understand? But at the same time, it doesn't mean that he didn't do it. I don't know. I'm just going by what he told me. At the same time, he could have all been the one who tried to sell the kid weed. So I don't know the full story. I only know, but I can see how these things can happen. Do you see what I'm
Yeah, yeah,
saying?
yeah.
You understand how these things
Well,
can get fucked up.
personally, and it's like this has been the whole not struggle, the challenge, right? to not cave into fear, to not start thinking about any, worst case scenarios and that,
Yeah,
because I literally, as far as I am aware, witnessed a man get sent down by a jury, where his daughter, who was 16 and didn't live with him,
mm.
told the police that he had touched her inappropriately after telling him that she was going to do that because he took her laptop off her, right?
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah,
there was
yeah, yeah.
no physical evidence, and he still got sent down.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But this is you got to understand, yeah. Like you have to understand, like teenagers anyway can cause trouble. Believe
Yeah.
me, I got kids. My friends have got kids. Like every now and then, certain kids cause
Yeah.
madness for their
Yeah.
parents, right?
Yeah.
Give me 1 second. I just got to, hold on. Give me 1 second. I've got some
Yeah.
sorts out with my stupid dogs. 1 second.
Yeah.
All right, get out. Wait, get out. Get away from there now. Get away. Wait, get back. Get back. You dickhead. Get back. Seriously, mate.
Yeah.
Here we go. Oh, fucking hell. Sorry, man. I didn't mean to.
No problem.
I didn't mean to. I just got to try and. I got to try and keep on top of the chaos. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah. But you were saying.
So I don't even remember what it was like to be a teenager. I was a little fucker. I didn't care
Yeah,
about
yeah,
people's feelings. I
yeah,
just
yeah,
cared
yeah,
about clout and having a laugh.
yeah, yeah.
So, I could see that because my solicitor asked me, well, why do you think that they would have said it if it weren't true? And I was like, because well, people do things to fit in and so, but at the end of the day, it's like, I, so after the court, and bear in mind, yeah, I was taken to court and it was basically all women in there, and I could feel that they'd already judged me to be that which was being offered forward.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
so they took me, I ended up in Buxton, and I had to report to the Buxton police station every week, every Thursday, right, at a specific time, until the court case, which is next month, so July. So this is
Mm,
like literally 10 months they were saying I had to do this. But after
yeah,
3 weeks, I was like, fuck this, man, that's not fair.
yeah,
I'm innocent. So you're not having that time off me. So I
yeah,
did one. I just went
yeah,
off. And then I went to Edinburgh even, and I was prepared to just chill there because I knew there'd be a warrant out for my arrest, but that it isn't enforceable over the border. But then I was
okay.
like, this isn't justice either. This is hanging over my head. Fuck you. I handed myself in. They took me to court again, and they relaxed all my bail conditions, so can just be, But this time it was men in the courtroom, and I felt
All
like they
right,
were
yeah,
more
yeah, yeah, yeah.
sympathetic.
So there's some sort of gender bias in this as well. You know?
Something, but
Yeah,
I get it. Women are very protective of children, rightly so. But
yeah,
that
yeah,
doesn't, I think this is my beef with the justice system. The truth is the truth is the truth, not what is reported, not what it looks like. You see
yeah.
what I mean? And there's a discrepancy.
But
If
you
we
know
could,
what it.
lie detector tests, or if somebody was
Yeah,
just literally sensitive enough to look at somebody and go, well, you're clearly deeply narcissistic and you're definitely telling a lie now, even though, all
yeah,
of that stuff. But as it stands, it's just somebody can say that you did something. And how do you prove that you didn't do something that you didn't do? Unless somebody was literally there filming you all that day.
yeah. It's true. Well, it's like Inspector Veg, right? And
Yes.
so basically, Inspector Veg, he used to come down to Devon, right? He
Uh-huh.
used to come down to a town near where I live, right? Called Totnes, right?
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
from
I've been to
say
Totnes.
Totnes because we're talking about Glastonbury. So,
Yeah, yeah,
right. So, end of the day, and this is not me. This is not me to like put down Inspector Veg or anything, yeah. But Inspector Veg, he ended up getting his name circulated. Okay, it wasn't as bad as getting arrested or anything like that, but he ended up. They got a things called what are they called? It's like a safety warning sort of thing. So it's like an email they send out to the parents like this is a person of concern. He's been
Okay.
yeah, because he was reported approaching school kids. You understand? And
Yeah.
obviously, Inspector Veg, if you know him, you know he was doing it out
I've met him
of.
once.
He was doing it purely, like, don't get me wrong, like he's naive in it, right? He was
Yeah.
doing it purely out of you know, he's got his own intentions. He wants to push
Yeah,
his
man,
message.
it was
Yeah.
blatantly warning them about potato waffles, weren't
Yeah,
it?
he was doing that. He was doing that. You know what I mean? He was doing all that. You know. So, but the thing is, you just got to be mind. You know,
Yeah.
you got to be mind. So he's ended up on this thing, right, going around the school. So I'm trying to tell him this, and he didn't want to acknowledge. He was just wanting to say, oh, like, you know, it's the parents are you know, they're just a bird's eye parents and this and that. And I'm like, you don't understand the seriousness of the situation. The kid has gone and told his dad. The dad has gone and phoned the school. The school has put out an email.
Yeah.
And I'm saying, I'm only saying it to you because I know, obviously, I know he's not. No, I don't think he's a. Do you know what I mean? I don't think like the worst. Like, remember, these parents don't know who he is. They don't know who he is. So they've got no. I know who Veg is. So for me, it's like, okay, I can see where, you know, and it wasn't done. You know, it was a. Sorry, a dog has just tried to bite me. What are you doing? A dog's actually bit me. It's like, so anyway, he's it wasn't done like, you know, he weren't there lurking outside the school.
Yeah.
But then, you know, when I'm asking him about it, he wanted to kind of make it like, you know, he weren't taking it seriously and that, and that's what that's what worries us parents, because it's not when we think, oh yeah, this man's guilty. It's just that's his attitude towards it. So it's almost like, well, this is what we're up against. You know what I mean? We have got real life predators.
I fully get it. And in an ideal world, it's like, come on, man. Which parent is going to say that they're okay with a strange man being in a tent in a park, right?
Yeah.
So I'm on the side of caution and say, actually, could we just have our parks as they were intended? But that's an ideal world, and you know. So I've learned to never put myself in that situation ever again. You know.
Mm-hmm. And it's easily done. And obviously, people that are homeless, they become, you know what I mean, they become the scapegoat for if anything dodgy happens in the, because you got to remember, we have it round where I live, yeah. So there was a guy going around exposing himself, right? So I'm walking around the town keeping my eye out for this guy. Now I see a strange person. I was almost 90% convinced this was the guy, and I was going to walk over and just check. Do you know what I mean? Turns out, because it was what they were wearing, it wasn't even a guy; it was a woman. Do you see what I'm saying? So I could have easily made that mistake. I thought, fucking hell, who else? Like, there's been a man going around exposing himself to fucking like some strange man who no one's ever seen, and then the very next morning, I'm literally waiting in the square, and I see some strange person acting very strangely. My dog's even started acting. Do you see what I mean? My dog started even getting funny. I'm thinking, fucking hell, here I found the person, but it wasn't. So it's very easy to make them. And I think a lot of times police catch the wrong person, and rather than just get the right person, even though they will just continue to prosecute the wrong person. So let me give you an example. I'm not going to name any names, but I know all the people involved in this story. So one guy who I know, he has an argument with this girl. I think she spits in his face. He boxes her in her face, and then he bangs her in the face again. Right? Now, this is, you know, they've gone their separate ways. She's gone to the police, whatever. The police have come and they've spoken to the person who I know. And I don't know what was said, but they've spoken about it. Like, they've let him know that, you know, we know about the incident, right? So nothing else, as far as I know, happened, right? Separately, there's a guy I know who works for the council. He works for the local council of that borough that I'm talking about, yeah? He's told me that he got arrested for the incident, right? He got arrested, bailed, charged, went to court, found guilty, sent, do you know what I mean? He got given like a fine and all this community service. And the thing is that the man was telling me the story, yeah, whilst the actual culprit was standing in front of me. He was literally standing in front of me. And I'm thinking, this is mad. I'm thinking, this ain't right. Like, I would say, you know, I know, you know, the person who I didn't say the person who did it is
That's
there,
it.
but
Yeah.
I said, you know, we know you didn't do that. We know the person who did it. Do you know what I mean? But
Yeah, yeah,
somehow that was it. And this wasn't. You got to think, right? This wasn't no like young man. This was a big grown man in his
uh-huh.
probably in his late 40s, family man, wife, kids. You get me? The guy who
Yeah,
did it. I'm not going to say, you know what I mean, but
yeah.
at the same time, he got prosecuted when they know full well who did it. You
Wow,
get me?
yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
I get that as well. I get that. Well, that's the sort of things that do happen within the
Well, yeah,
justice system.
there's a lot of fuckery within the police force. You know, I mean, I even the fact that the police exist as a thing, right? Because it's all inverted, and they're the biggest criminal gang going, but they pretend to be like, you know, they protect the interests of the money and that
Yeah,
all of that shit. I actually made a complaint against the police, but they're gonna wait until this court case is cleared up before they respond to my accusations because I said, seems to me like your organization has got a vendetta against me based on my actual experience, which makes sense. My name in that system will flag up like the amount of times I've showed my lack of respect to those people.
yeah. But do you think so? If you think there's a setup, yeah,
Hmm.
do you think they would have gone to the extent of using kids as part of their
Well, I'm of the mind now that it doesn't really matter, and
yeah.
like just because you're paranoid, don't mean they're not after you.
Oh no,
But
yeah,
but it's like I don't care because it's all like shadow business. So I'll rather
yeah,
focus on the light.
yeah. Of course,
Because we can become a victim of that, and it can be this projection of the idea that the world's out to get you.
yeah,
When
yeah.
I rather focus on the fact that the real creator of this, experience actually genuinely loves me, like and life
Mm.
wants to see me thrive.
No, I totally get it because I have to deal with multiple legal issues
Hmm.
of people and their lies. Do you see what I'm saying? So I literally I have to go in. Luckily, I can articulate myself, and I
Uh-huh.
mean I've had to go in for a few voluntary interviews and
Uh-huh.
deal with people's lies, and so I do understand how vindictive people are.
Hey, bro,
You get me?
somebody. I'm not gonna, for the sake of posterity, I'm not gonna mention who it is or whatever, but a man tried to end my life, yeah,
Yeah,
and I went to the police.
yeah,
And no, I got arrested, right? He did not.
yeah,
They
yeah,
dropped everything, no further action, but I literally said that he tried to kill me.
yeah,
Like,
yeah, yeah,
how
yeah,
does that work?
yeah. Well,
Just because he calmly denied it when I was in a bit of a worked up state because of
that's
what had just happened.
mate. I'm not going to lie here. Even I have been on the aggressor end of getting you understand. So I've been in like don't get me wrong, the guy was winding me up, yeah. So me and my friends, right, we've ended up manhandling this guy. You know what I mean? So he's on he's ran to the police. You know, we said, I said, look, guys, just when the police come, we just act all normal. And we just said, no, this guy, he just come up to us talking madness, mate. We don't know what he's talking about. And the police were like, all right, that's it. And they just grabbed him up and they ended up banning him, giving him a 24-hour dispersal. Do you know what I mean? But that was, obviously in parts of London, because it is well understood that the police are corrupt, yeah, that we just, in these parts of London, it's easier to go with it. Do you see what I'm saying? It's easier to
Yeah,
go with it. Understand? If you try to be a law, that's what you get me. If you try to be a law-abiding citizen in these
yeah,
places, you
yeah.
end up in jail. You get me. You
Uh-huh.
will actually end up getting locked up because you end up getting stitched up. Whereas,
Yeah,
certain areas, it's understood that the police are doing their thing as well,
uh-huh.
and they want to get on with their thing just like any other criminal organization. They don't want to be bothered, and if you
Uh-huh.
stay out of their way and just fucking do what you're doing, it
Yeah.
tends to just and if you try and be the hero, ask too many questions, then they might just fucking say, you know what, mate, what's this we just found in you? Who knows? Who
I
knows?
know, bro. It's all bullshit because,
Mm.
like, once I was just chilling in a caravan, right, and the police came because they've been called out because there was a young couple arguing in the same space, the same address that I was staying at. But I just let him get on with it, doing my own thing. And the policeman just walked into my caravan. He didn't knock. All of this stuff. I was literally in meditation. And they were trying to force
Yeah, yeah,
me
yeah,
to
yeah,
give evidence. Yeah, and I'm like, nah, man,
yeah, yeah,
I don't know what you're talking about.
yeah.
And I'm not telling you my name. But because I was a bit obstinate, yeah, that they saw that I had a bit of cannabis, right? And they used that as an excuse to search the caravan. They took my medicine off me, you know,
Yeah,
like,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
and then they ended up finding out that there was a warrant out for my arrest at that time, and they took me in and
Oh,
fucking. I went from meditating to being taken to fucking Southampton court, staying in it overnight, all of this
yeah,
shit, and then having to get back. And it's like, what?
yeah.
Where's the justice in that? Like, it was just a young couple having an argument. Just leave them to it. Like,
That's how it goes sometimes, man. That's why I keep away from people, man. I keep away from people. I don't care. I do
yeah,
not care, man. Like whatever, you know, because at the end of the day, I've been walking down the road once, yeah. I went to pick
yeah,
up a keyboard in an area that I didn't live in. I was walking down the road, I went picked up his keyboard, and I was walking back to the station with it. And a guy is having some argument at the pub, tries to engage me in conversation. I kept it moving. Next thing you know, police. Everyone stop. I'm just on the way to the station. Oh, yeah, you're fucking involved as well. I was like, how the fuck am I involved? Just walking, and that's what I'm saying. So even
yeah,
little things like that,
yeah,
like even that story I told you about, in Somerset, where
uh-huh,
it all kicked off. Yeah. So what had actually happened is I was going to the supermarket. I was riding a mountain bike. So I was riding. I have to ride past this house. You know what I mean?
uh-huh,
It's on the same street I lived on. And as I was riding up the street, I seen the madness going on. So I saw all sorts of violence, right? So I've just spun the bike round and I've gone the other way. I've
yeah,
gone the other way and I've gone to the supermarket, got my shit. And then on the way back, I came the way I usually go. And I just saw everyone being rounded up by the police. You understand? So this is how these things usually go. You know,
yeah,
it's you know, it's always the way, and it's just I just stay away from it. I avoid it because the maddest thing is, if I had hung around the area, I would have got nicked as well. Because there's no
yeah, yeah,
way you got to think it's in the middle of Somerset. All of a
uh-huh,
sudden, you got a couple black guys from London that are doing
uh-huh,
their thing, and then I'm seen riding past on a mountain bike. They're
mm,
gonna think he's part of it as well. Common sense, you understand? So I had to get the fuck
yeah,
out of there, and that's how easy, you know, that's how easy you can open yourself up to, you know, scrutiny from the law. And then the
yeah, yeah,
police
yeah,
start
yeah.
looking at, oh, what are you up to then? Oh, because you're hanging around with this. So I don't bother with people, man. I just stay away from
Yeah,
people.
yeah, I don't, but it's like, well, I'm not going to say white privilege, but I'm going to say your experience is a lot different to
No, but
mine,
no,
right?
no,
Surely?
but bro, in the same way, bro, like they're not trying. It's not a case of I'm getting stopped and searched every day because I don't. I live in Devon. I don't get stopped and searched ever.
Yeah,
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 but the fact of the matter is, like I said, when the police is looking for what he's looking for, you know, it don't matter. He's not looking for a black person with cannabis on him. He's looking for
uh-huh,
cannabis. You know what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah,
If
yeah,
he's finding it, you understand? If you look at, you
yeah,
know, if you look like you might have something on you, you're getting
yeah.
searched, or
Oh yeah, it's pretty sinister, eh? That they literally have to go out looking for crime in progress.
wouldn't say so much looking. I would say sometimes if you show your hand too much. So sometimes, you know, you gotta.
Oh, I know, bro. I know about being obnoxious.
No,
One
no, you look.
time,
Yeah,
look,
go on.
one time years ago, I was in Birmingham City Centre, and I'd had a few pints of Stella,
Yeah,
and I had some green spray paint with me, and I was just going around spray painting the word love everywhere, right? And I just in the middle of Birmingham City Centre on this electric cable box, just the word love.
yeah,
And then all of a sudden, two cars, I think a riot van and a car pulled up, and about 7 or 8 police got out. And I was being obnoxious. I was saying, "Are you here on your oath, officer?" and all this shit. And like,
yeah,
how
yeah.
do you sleep at night? What are you doing? I'm just doing a bit of artwork. Like, are your family proud of you? All this
Mm.
stuff. And then they searched me, they took my blood off me. They were roughing me up and they said that I was resisting arrest because they really didn't like it. But I realized I didn't do myself any favors in that situation. I just got stuff taken from me and my time and energy.
Yeah, yeah, but
I should have
you
just
know,
said, fair cop, there you go, sorry. Like,
yeah, but at the same time, you know, their approach is excessive. Some, you know what I mean? That's not to say all police are like that. You understand? Because the experience I've had of police in Devon, and I have it in the southwest of England. I have had experiences of the police here. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you know, we're able to. You're able to speak to these people on a. It's not so
Yeah.
confrontational here. It's not
It's
so
more
confrontation.
grounded.
Yeah, so it's not so confrontational. So at the end of the day, I'm not going to sit there. I'm not going to badmouth fucking Devon and Cornwall police or Somerset, Bristol. You know what I mean? Even though they have,
It's like
even even though
sorry.
there is cases against, there is people have made stuff against them that I don't, you know what I mean? There's been all sorts of allegations against them by other
Yeah.
people. My
Yeah.
personal experience of them is not so bad in the
Yeah.
sense where they're not dealing with like some London police stations are dealing with chaos all day long. So
Yeah.
you have to kind of sometimes be a bit. You got to be a bit of a cunt to deal with cunts. You understand?
Yeah.
And you got to
I get
be a
it.
gentleman and to deal with
Yeah.
decent people. You know. So
Sometimes life has sent, like, if I had to engage with police, then they've sent female life, God, whatever, has sent female officers just to know that there's not going to be any tension because I'm there helping somebody who's in distress or something like that all
yeah,
these
yeah.
times. But
Mm.
like Dorset police, like village police, local police like that in Dorset, once my encounters with them when they took my bud off me, there's literally about £3 worth of weed. And they put it in this massive evidence bag, and it was such a farce. And I was like,
Mm.
you don't understand, man. That's my medicine. I have to smoke that because I live in a world where a man can just come in my caravan when I'm meditating and then take my medicine. So,
Mm.
you know what I mean? And I said, and he said, yeah, but we're just doing our job. And I'm like, yeah, that's what the Nazis said. I get it, right? The more compassionate you are, the more human, the more chance you've got of losing your job, and that's fine, right? But
Yeah,
another time, like I've been physically assaulted by the police. It was on top, man. There was no need for it. More than one occasion.
yeah,
All
yeah,
just because I said no, and I might have said it a bit louder with a
yeah.
few
So,
choice words.
yeah. So you know the police. You know, as much as we, you know, we do know about. I thought in London there is a lot of, like, obviously there's a lot of black youth being stopped and searched and that, yeah. But all across the board, there was a lot of people being roughed up by the police. And you got to think in Devon, right? It is mostly white criminals,
Yeah,
white crime. It's mostly white. You know what I mean? Like predominantly. Do you see what I'm saying? And
yeah,
it's,
yeah,
you know, it ain't no like. There's a lot of, you know, I don't. A lot of people don't do themselves no favors either, because a lot of
mhm,
people have having repeated run-ins with the police and
yeah,
repeated kicking off, and the police having to get people when they're completely intoxicated as well. So
yeah,
this
yeah.
doesn't help either. They're having to taser people and shit like
But
that.
there's a lot of frustration. I see this, I sense it, and I take the now. I've completely changed, and I'm a lot more mm, relaxed. Like I'm not uptight when I'm in these situations because I do understand that there is a human inside that uniform. And so I try to speak to them on a human level. And I was speaking
Yeah,
to a
yeah,
couple recently in the Lake District. It was when I'd handed myself in.
yeah,
Um,
yeah,
and they were just like down to earth people, just doing their job, right? You know, just providing for the family. And I was like, how long have you been an officer or whatever? And he was like, oh, it's approaching 25 years. I can't retire for 5 years or something. But I'm only doing it because I haven't paid my mortgage off now because it's changed so much and I don't find the same joy in it.
yeah. Of
And
course, of
that's a
course.
problem, really. We need everybody turning up happy to be doing what they're doing.
Of course, of course. But I think, you know, if you're a police officer in this day and age, it's hard for you to be happy
Uh-huh.
when when you clearly don't have the upper hand. So, you know, I can't just burst into someone's door as a police officer in the UK with a truncheon, because
Uh-huh.
I might have to deal with a gang of machetes and samurai swords or even a
Yeah,
gun.
yeah, yeah,
So
yeah,
I can't just fucking, you know what I mean? I have to proceed with caution, because
yeah,
a lot of people are on drugs. And then not only that, the same deception that is you get me, that has been used against us in many different occasions can also be
yeah,
used against the police.
yeah,
Someone
yeah,
can,
yeah,
as a police officer, someone can say that I fucking did this and that to him, report me. I ain't done shit to him.
yeah.
I was just trying to do my job. So this
Uh-huh.
is the imbalance, because the police, you know, at the same time, you know, the police, you know, they encourage it, but you know, if I want to go and make up a lie about somebody and get them nicked, it's the police that's going to be doing it. So they're
Yeah,
involved in that sort of
yeah,
business
yeah, yeah.
anyway. So
So
when it
this
happens
is
to them, you understand, it's this is what happens. It's an imbalance they've created.
But they psychologically they have to adopt an us versus them mentality in that role. And
Of
so
course.
like nobody is beyond suspicion, and that's
100%.
but so like when it was like when COVID was in full swing and people were so fearful and paranoid and that, I traveled to Bristol on a train and I didn't wear a mask. And the
Mhm.
ticket inspector lady asked me why I weren't wearing a mask, and I made the mistake of telling her the truth, right? Because I'm not living in fear, because this is all a joke, like because whatever. And she sneaked off and she rang the transport police. So I got off the train and I got ambushed by these two
No way.
officers.
In
Yeah,
Bristol.
and I had all this stuff with me, and they handcuffed me because I wouldn't give them my name or anything, so they
No
could
way.
search my stuff. I told them I really needed to urinate, and they wouldn't let me. They held me. I looked into their eyes, and they were just like frightened little children. They were body cam recording me, right? And so I just got on my soapbox, and I'm like, well, now that you're here, let's begin. And I started saying, this is bullshit, right? You don't understand what you're doing. This right here now is a massive like test. It's a psychological warfare going on,
Yeah, yeah.
and you're in the middle. Like you're my liberty. I shouldn't. And if I'm if I'm a threat, if I'm a biological hazard, why are you keeping me in this space where all these people are instead of letting me be out in the open air? That
Mm,
kind of thing. And I was. It took me a while, but after about 3 or 4 weeks, I was fuming. And I rung up and made a complaint, and I ended up speaking to like the chief inspector of Bristol Transport Police or something. And he said, well, what do you want to happen? And I was like, bro, like he said, like we're in the middle, right? We're in the middle of all of this. And I said, yeah, but what's going on now? It appears to be like this sort of like psyop, right? Yeah, testing people's compliance and all that. And he said, you're not the first person to say that. And he was like, well, what do you want to happen? And I'm like, well, I'm not after financial compensation. I just want people to learn, to
yeah.
see what's going on, because you are in the middle. And if anything comes to violence, all of that stuff, your officers,
Well,
your people,
they've made an oath to enforce it, so they've got
yeah,
no choice. They've got absolutely no choice.
no, and they're
So
just puppets, right? They're just puppets of something else. Like ultimately, humans could be trusted to be like governing themselves. But only talking about people who are in touch with their conscience. So I do get it. Like I would
mm,
rather not have to make sure that the streets are safe and that murderers aren't active and all of that stuff. Like to some degree, there's just a lot of immaturity in like the collective consciousness to that regard. So in
yeah,
the same way that some people still need to be governed and told what to do by politicians and that,
yeah,
that's just the way it is.
yeah, 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 yeah.
But yeah, change is coming. I don't believe in the justice system. I believe it's all backwards. But I do believe in real justice.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah, but it's one of them things with where you have a system of justice, it can always be manipulated, and it can always be manipulated to to for basically tyranny. It can be manipulated for tyranny. So,
Yeah.
but I hear that. But
Yeah.
that's why you got to have a strong sense of justice, and where you can enforce or whatever, you got to do it, man, because you can't always rely on even the general public. Like I
No.
don't even look at it like, see, some people look at it like we're all together. I think when push comes to shove, it will be the opposite. It will be like 28 days later, it will be most of
Yeah.
humanity against you.
The
You know what I
Walking
mean?
Dead. That's
Well,
why community is so important.
of course.
Eventually, you know,
But community,
yeah, like, well, you full well know what it's like to be a lone wolf in this life, bro, and that is the safest option. And for me, same, like living on the streets, that's your best off on your own, all of that stuff. But it seems
mm,
to me like there's a tribe of lone wolves assembling now, and that's just the most powerful group that there could be.
yeah, yeah. Well, this is it. It's got to be the people that are able to think independently. It's
Mhm.
people that can think independently. Most people can't think independently, and like you said in the previous podcast, like people areas people get into areas and they become part of it, like an organism, like do
Yeah,
you see what I'm saying? They start
yeah,
operating on that. Do you see what I'm saying?
yeah,
I know this because even me, I've got certain areas where I've gone in and I've done that. I've done my little, what I mean? But obviously I've always dipped in and out. But generally people tend to pick up on certain things.
Yeah.
And so yeah, you know, community. If your community falls, if the standards lower and get lower, then everyone, do you know what I mean? Everyone's standards fall. Do you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
before you know it, you know, your all right town that you lived in 30 years ago is now a fucking war zone.
Yeah.
See what I'm saying? So,
Yeah.
but yeah, man. To be honest, like so is the next court hearing? Is that your last hearing, basically?
Yeah, yeah, it would be that's it. And I had the chance to escalate it to Crown Court, and my
Yeah,
solicitor at the time advised me not to. And I think I'm kind of happy with that. The less humans involved in the decision, the better, as far as I'm
yeah,
concerned, you know.
yeah, yeah.
But I told the truth once, and I believe that the truth stands alone. You know, it stands for it speaks for itself. So I've had no problems consolidating all the fears and just knowing that if you tell the truth, then you ain't got to remember what you said and all this
Exactly.
stuff.
And I found with some of my cases, it's like what I haven't had to, I've just told the truth of what's happened, and where what I've said matches up to what you get me either seen on CCTV or whatever, or, yeah, and other people's story keeps changing, and they
Yeah,
forgot to mention this, and it's just like mate, what's going on here? You understand? So yeah, that's all you got to do, man. And at the end of the day, if they want to fucking like like the last interview I had, the police said to me like, so what if they what if they think they decide to they don't believe you? I was like, fuck it. So fuck them if they don't believe me. Do you think I
hmm,
give a fuck if they don't believe me? Do you know what
yeah,
I mean? What do you want me to do if they don't fucking believe me? Do you know what I mean? I said,
yeah,
if they don't believe me, cool, then fucking lock me up then. Do you know what I mean?
yeah,
That's all I can
yeah,
say.
yeah.
It's like there's not much I can do. You know
No,
what I mean?
exactly. I very much believe that I'm always where I'm supposed to be, and if
Yeah,
God sees fit to put me in that environment, then I'll be there for a very specific reason. I'm not gonna get victimized in jail because I'm not playing those games.
yeah,
Those
yeah, yeah,
dynamics don't interest me. It's not a game I want to win,
yeah, 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 yeah.
but I don't. I believe I will be fully vindicated. You know.
Yeah, yeah, of
So
course. Of course. Yeah, man. But yeah, these things happen, man. Do you know what I mean? They do happen. Do you know what I mean? There's a lot of, and you know what it is as well? It's just a shame that there's so much, a lot of the time when this actually happens, the real criminals don't get caught and get, you see what I'm saying? So this is the
yeah.
thing in it. This is the problem with the justice system. Sometimes it ends up inverted. You know what I mean? It ends up with the innocent people getting
Well,
sent
what
home
I
and
want to
getting
know
away
is
with it.
who's policing the police and who's judging the judges.
Good question. Good question. That is a good question. I don't think I have the answer for it, but that's a good
But it,
question.
it occurs to me, yeah, that if there's any sort of corruption anywhere, eventually, it's like all those energies, they'll all be hanging each other out to dry. And when police officers start grassing on each other and all of that, it would be
Well, yeah.
showing significant change.
Well, this is why you always need sacrifice. You always need a willing. You know what I mean? You always
Yeah,
need to just, you know what I mean, to throw to the wolves because at the end of the day, it's not to say that the people at the top ain't involved in similar or even worse behaviour. It's just as long as they can keep people busy. Do you know what I mean? And like I said, in situations like being homeless on the streets, a lot of the time, the homeless man, he is the easy target.
yeah,
And
yeah,
it's
yeah,
the same like the immigrant man. That some foreign man said that he's easy target, and
yeah,
that's just the thing. It's not even about. It's about the fact that he's on his own. So
yeah,
that's why he's an easy target. You didn't go up to a group of 10 people and say, "Oh, that one there, he's da, 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 da," because he's got people around him. He's got people that can vouch for him. You've deliberately went and found someone who nobody could vouch for them for the last 12 hours or whatever. And
yeah,
this is how people work. That's what I keep. This is what I'm trying to teach people because people think that nah, people ain't like that. Nah, and I'm not saying obviously, like I said, even youngsters, yeah, they ain't stupid. You ain't stupid. They're not, you know what I mean? And it's not to say that every single accusation is made as a false, because that's definitely not what I'm saying. But obviously, your situation, like I said, people gossiping, locals in the area working together to
yeah.
try to, you understand, to try and run fuckery. They tried it with me here. you see what I'm saying? They act like they didn't. They tried it with me here. You see what I'm saying? Little, you know, oh, who's this person? He's not with anyone. We can fuck with him. Do you see what I'm saying? And that's what I'm saying. Obviously, you just turned up to the town. So when that's sometimes the most vulnerable time to turn up. You know what I mean? With me, I've been here for years, and within that time, I've built links and contacts. People can vouch for me and stuff like that. But when you, like I said, when you turn up to somewhere and people have got so much baggage here, they need to offload on. They can't offload it on their neighbors because it's gonna. They need to offload it on. You get me? They need the sacrificial lamb. They need someone to say, "Oh, he did it." Do you know what I mean? When it was their brother or someone else, someone they know, they need to say, "And that was him." So I understand these sorts of things, and I always try and tell people, you know, in this day and age, you've got to have your eyes open because I've traveled around the country a lot. You've got to have your eyes open.
Slipping.
Nah, you get caught slipping out here, bro. You can get caught slipping out here. Believe me, I've been to places and I've been in police cells up and down the country for. Do you know what I mean? Well, this person said, "Bro, I go somewhere. I've had police come up to me. Someone's just reported you've got an XL bully. You clearly haven't, but someone went to the extent of making that call.
Yeah,
you get me. Someone went to the extent of all these other things, even these other things I'm dealing with. Someone has went to the extent of making that call, sitting there, making a statement to the police. They don't even know the fuck you are, but it's too late. The wheels are in motion. They decided to call the police on you in the first place. Now the wheels are. Luckily, like obviously, because the girls, because it's females and they're underage, they don't have to be present in court. That is one of the things that is in their favor. Do you see what I'm saying? Because of you know what I mean. But
they're appearing via video link, as far as I'm aware.
Yeah, it's just you know. So it is just a bit of a, you know, you just got to go in there and fight your corner, man. Just
man. And I've been praying for those girls' souls. In all honesty, I haven't felt anger towards them, or maybe a little bit, but it's more the situation in and of itself.
Understand as well, like you said that somebody had told them about some person. So understand the possibility of manipulation by older people. People, older people manipulate younger people. It is twisted. They manipulate them to do all, especially teenagers that age. They manipulate them to buy drugs, to take drugs, to traffic drugs around the country, all sorts of mad stuff to set people up, to backdoor people. This is what's going on. This is what I'm trying to explain to people. This day and age, things have changed. The days of the occasional fucking snake, you know, the occasional traitor, you know, these days are over. We're in the days where there's a lot of snakes. There's a, you know, whole friend groups are snakes, are fucking people over. Effort is getting put. It's not back in my days, you know, you'd lose your temper and you'd fucking do or say something fucked up. In this day and age, effort, people are meeting up to plot people's downfall. Money is being put up. You get me? Like it's crazy. Whole campaigns are you know what I mean? Like so, never get it twisted and think, oh yeah, nah, mate. People are on. If they're on bringing you down, mate, they don't care. They'll go to the police. They'll say you did this. Oh mate, you name it. So that's why it's always better to keep your distance from people. And like you say, it works in your favor because there's no, you know, there's never a motive. You know what I mean? If you're too connected to people, there's always appears like there's a motive. But when someone out of the blue is trying to just fuck you over, it appears for what it actually is. There's just people that do that. People do go out and just try and fuck with people all the time. Believe me.
It's literally it's our light irritating the darkness of the world.
Like that. It's something like that, yeah. Something like that. Do you know what I mean?
You know, we shall prevail because ultimately, if you have got a solid relationship with God, then you already know the score, and it's like we never have to sweat any of these things.
Well, this is exactly what I had to say to a man the other day. He was running up his mouth, and it was like, mate, yeah. He's trying to say to me and my mate, he's a Brummy guy. Big up to Craig, yeah. So Craig is my Brummy guy. He's a man. He's a true warrior of God. And this guy is saying, oh, come on, fucking, you don't think you're bad. Come on, show me how bad you are. And it's like, you know what it is, yeah? It's not even hard for us to show you who's bad, mate. You know what I mean? We have to say to him, that's what you don't understand. You think it'd be very easy to show you how bad we are. It's more difficult to show you how goodness. That's the real challenge. I said, at the end of the day, bruv, we can smash you in right now. And all you do is go straight to the police, yeah? Because you know what I mean? But that's just easy. You understand? And yes, so sometimes you got to let people know it's not hard to do this stuff. It's just not good. You know what I mean? And it's like, mate, if you're trying to get me to do something bad, you do something bad. Why are you trying to make me do something bad for?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And that's what it is. A lot of people are trying to bring the badness out of you. They're trying to provoke you to do bad things. And that's even more dark than doing something bad yourself. Like if you're just angry and you want to go and do something bad and smash a window or something, then smash a window. But going and finding someone who you never met before and putting that energy onto them and making them, that's even dark. You know what I mean? Because that just means you're a totally soulless person. You understand? And there's been people, bro, these people that have put man in prison for 20 years. You know, there's women that have put man in, and they've known that the man was innocent.
Just
Went along
fully
with it.
buzzed off the vengeance that they
Not
felt
even,
like.
bro, some of it was just, you know, some of it was just like at the time, she just said it. Girl just said it. People kind of, well, you need to just went along with it. So yeah, so sometimes people got to be careful what they say or what they allude to. You know what I mean? Because yeah, people's lives get fucking ruined. You know what I mean? And a lot of the time, when these people do realize what they've done is wrong, it's usually 20, 30 years later. Do you know what I mean? The man's already ruined his life already. You know what I mean? So
it's mad, and because it's all just like some sort of self-sabotage, like doing shit like that, doing heinous stuff to other humans. It's just more fuel to hate yourself, ultimately, because there's a part of everyone, whether it's switched off or not, that knows what is correct and what they'd rather be doing.
But this is the thing though, with human behavior. They know that's what's bad about them because they know what they should be doing, but they will still choose to do that. And that's why eventually, you know, you'll find people will just go into the wilderness and will just isolate themselves from humans, not because they don't like people, just because they understand what humans are and how dangerous they are. The proximity of them. Like, okay, most humans could be normal, but I might have that one human that I accidentally bump into. The next thing you know, I'm standing in court. I'm going to court. My door's coming in. You know what I mean? It's this, so at the end of the day, this is all like we can blame all these different things, but I always try and say, look, before we blame, you know, people by their race, religion, political affiliation, what they believe in, you know, before we even get into that, do you know what I mean? Before we even get into that, I always say we have to judge the person as a human being. And that's where everything bad is coming from. So we are human first. So whether we go on to be a black human, a Muslim human, a white human, a Chinese human, yeah, we are still a human. Yeah, we are still carrying that evil into whatever section. So there's no point pointing out, oh, these people are like this or these people are like this, because they can't escape being human. And actually, being a human is a very, you know, being a human is such a bad thing, in a sense where this is why we need God, because when we're a human being, there's no guarantee that we aren't going to do some bullshit that we are now, and not only that, once we do this bullshit, we still have the ability to fucking continue to lie about it and be like, nah, this guy, send someone to, do you see what I'm saying? This is a dangerous thing for a species to have, disability, no, the lack of remorse. We can say we have remorse, but as human beings, we don't, we will exercise remorse or what appears to be remorse when we need to. We don't, otherwise we can pretty much go along, you know what I mean? We'll exercise remorse if we have to.
A lot of people are mostly just sad when they get caught rather than
Course,
the fact that they've done it.
Of course. So this is what it is with you, and we can't, you know, we can sit there and be like, oh, it's the young, it's the youth, it's the teenagers, it's the old, it's people from this postcode or that postcode. We can put it, you know what I mean? People from this part of the country, that part of the country, northerners, southerners.
Yeah.
Ultimately, we're human beings.
Yeah.
We cannot stop doing bad things. Like literally, the only thing that will ever stop us and conspiring, like that's what's bad about us, is we're conspiring. So like with dogs and other animals, like simple animals, if simple things irritate them and they react, yeah. Whereas with humans, we will sit there and plot some bullshit which go for months or years, and
Yeah.
sometimes the person don't even know you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Stalk people,
Yeah.
fucking just do mad things. And like no one likes to speak about these things because it's like strange behavior. They class it as strange behavior, but it's like no, this is human behavior.
Yeah.
I mean, like the same way, you know what I mean? We do mad things. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Spying, fucking what do you call it? Voyeurism. You get me,
Yeah.
looking through people's windows. This is human behavior, like not like a fucking animal who's looking so he can hunt or something like that. Just fucking looking through someone's fucking window.
Yeah.
And so, you know, the facts of the matter is human, you know, we just because humans hide their behavior, it doesn't mean it isn't part of their nature. And this is what we're dealing with on every
Yeah,
level.
this is the duality of man, and like you say, unless people have every action, every thought, every word, it's all either rooted in God or it's rooted in something else. And a lot of people don't know what they actually worship in this life, you know, unless
Like,
you're very
yeah,
intentional in your relationship.
yeah, and that's 100% true. And even like I said, even like through programming, you still, you know, like my programming is like not that I'm programmed, but obviously my family are Christian, yeah. So even if you start, you know, the back of your mind will always be that Christian, you know what I mean? That kind of programming, that kind of understanding. Even if you do learn other things, you'll still bring it back to that. You see what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
yeah, but yeah, it is true, and I can even see that. I can even see that even in the church, people think, oh yeah, just because you go to church and pray to Jesus, your problems are solved. And I'm like, mate, I don't even like talking about Christianity too much because we can get so deep into it. It's like, well, you're not really doing anything different than the devil worshipper you condemn. Apart from your intention is you don't know. That's the only difference. You don't
Yeah.
realize you're doing it. The
Yeah.
Satanist knows he's doing it, but you don't know you're doing it, but you're still, you see what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah.
But that's another conversation for another day.
Yeah, man.
We'll definitely get into it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, nice.
Yeah, man. But yeah, I'm gonna have to jump off anyway. But yeah, good luck with the trial. And if anything, if you want to do another session beforehand or whatever, let
Yeah.
me know. Yeah, because it's
Okay.
something.
Yeah. Yeah. Probably. Yeah.
Yeah,
I might have a few updates or something, but yeah, well,
yeah,
either before or after anyway.
yeah.
Put it that
I'm
way.
gonna have some good clips from this as well.
Yeah.
Your clips for the last one were sick, though. I'm not gonna lie. They inspired some good thumbnails, bruv. Yeah. I don't know what King Raoul's gonna think, bruv.
Just jokes, man. I was enjoying them and
Yeah. So
shared them on
I'm gonna get
Facebook.
some I'm gonna get some good ones, man, from this one. Do you know what I mean? And obviously,
Nice.
like I said, you know, I know dodgy people, bruv. I know dodgy people that have got
Yeah.
charges against their name, and
Yeah.
and I know you're a man who's not that, like, you get me. So obviously, I'm behind you anyway. You know what I mean? Because
Yeah,
I know
bro. I
some
appreciate
people that
that.
if the same charges come with certain other people, I would
Yeah.
be like, do you know what I mean? But even
Yeah.
like Inspector Veg, right? I'm not even gonna lie, I'm not even chatting to Inspector Veg, yeah. But at the same time, he got himself caught up in that whole thing. I don't think that about Inspector Veg. I know Inspector Veg isn't like that. You understand?
Yeah.
Obviously, it's a misunderstanding, but it's just
Yeah.
that's how easy misunderstandings can happen.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
how easy they can.
It's a harsh lesson.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
know.
But at the same time, let it be known. Obviously, man, I don't think that about, you know what I mean. I don't think that about Veg. You get me? I don't think Veg is a fucking a predator. It's just that in this day and age, things are everything is high. Everything is hyper. You get me? Everything is,
Yeah.
you know how it goes, in it. Everything's
Sensitive. The world is very sensitive.
basically, yeah. Everything is hypersensitive. That's what I wanted to say. So yeah,
Yeah.
But yeah, man, it's been a good one today, man. Big up to
Oh yeah, too. I appreciate it, man. I really respect the work that you're doing on this earth, bro.
yeah, man. Thank you, man. Thank you. Likewise, man. And I can't wait to jump on your podcast as well soon.
Yeah, and I'll put that on pause for a bit. It will come back around. I had to get myself settled back down here. But yes, definitely, man. I intend for you to be the next guest on that, so I'll
Yeah,
let you know.
come on. I'm there, man. I'm there.
All
All
right,
right, bro. Nice
nice
one,
one,
brother.
bro.
All right, bless.
Peace out, man. I'll speak to you